Superchargers and Fishing the West on Channel 30 KOOG, Ogden, Salt Lake City.
Today on Tuff Trax, USA 1 has a new driver. Carolina Crusher has a bigger engine. And will the Equalizer be the new world champion? Then cover your ears for the strongest vehicles in motorsports. Count them, 7 engines. Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas. Welcome to Tuff Trax with the TNT Monster Truck Challenge today in Fishersville, Virginia at the Augusta Expo Land. Twin tracks normally reserved for pulling. Today, they get the superstars of monster truck racing, like the Carolina Crusher. Gary Porter's truck has battled for the season championship throughout the year. He's been among the point leaders. Can he stay up there? We'll find out today. Here's Army Armstrong with last week's winner.
Thanks, Scott. As you know, in monster truck racing, the previous week's winner gets to carry the silver flag into this week's competition. Now, this week, we're in Fishersville, Virginia. Last week's winner, the man with the flag, is also your current national points leader, David Morris with the Equalizer out of Tennessee. Now, David, we're down to the last 5 events of 1989. Everybody is chasing you. You're out 100 points on USA 1. They've got a new driver. What's the status there?
Well, I'm glad they've got a new driver this weekend. I think it'll help me out a lot. The driver they've got now hasn't got quite the driving experience that the USA 1 driver normally has, so I think it'll help me a lot.
Okay, that's USA 1. He's setting 30. He's 100 points behind you. Now, Gary Porter with the Carolina Crusher has put a killer motor in that truck to come after you. He is going to try to nail you to the wall right here in Fishersville. He's setting number 2 in the points. What about Porter?
Well, I'm hoping this motor that he's put in is going to have enough horsepower that he's going to have to be getting used to this engine from now to the end of the point chase.
Let's talk about the track specifically we're going to be running on here at Fishersville. The track, what is it?
We got very muddy conditions out here on this track, and I think it's definitely going to be a driver's track instead of a horsepower track.
Thanks a lot for coming down. Now we're going to switch over to Chris Chapman, who's going to tell us about the pulling action.
Army Armstrong, who is with Steve Wilkie, the brand new driver of USA 1. We're going to find out just where is Rod Litzow.
Well, Rod had a problem when he was home. He injured himself. His right hand sustained some damage and had some surgery on it, and he'll be back.
Steve, pressure's nothing new to you. Being on this USA 1 team, you've been under a lot of pressure as a mechanic, but there's a new type of pressure, that being the pressure of driving this truck and stepping into the shoes of Litzow.
Well, Army, there is. I got some pretty big shoes to fill. Rod's the best in the country at what he does. I don't know, this week now, I've left the mechanic chores up to Mark Gerard here, and I'm trying to concentrate on driving the truck and keeping it straight.
Lots of big stories here in Fishersville. And here's another one. This is the home state of Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson, the world's most popular monster truck team. Dennis told us earlier he does not intend to let his home state fans down.
Nobody can beat the Gravedigger in Virginia.
This program. Welcome back to Tuff Trax for the TNT Monster Truck Challenge in Fishersville, Virginia. Our quick qualifier earlier was Carolina Crusher, which gets a bye run. John Kwasniewski's Buffalo Trimmer faces USA 1 right off the bat. Marvin Smith's Stomper meets Bennett Clark's Clydesdale. The Equalizer takes on Kid Rarig's Thunder Chicken. Then Mike Wine and the Jersey Outlaw battle the ever-improving team of Scott Stevens and King Crunch. Gravedigger and Dave Leisworth's Nightlife meet in a battle between 2 top 5 trucks. Then the Breen brothers, Bob and John, square off in Wild Hare and Mad Dog. And the last race is John Moore's No Problem against Gary Wiggins and Mopar Magic. Let's go racing with Scott and Army.
Thanks, Chris. It's showtime, the debut of Steve Wilkie driving USA 1.
Wilkie driving probably one of the most powerful trucks on the circuit. We're keeping an eye on him. He looks to be having a little bit of problem on his slick track. Scott, I believe we got a disqualification. I don't believe both front tires hit the rim.
You're right, Army. Your winner, John Kwasniewski and Buffalo Trimmer.
Johnny, you just did something a lot of people have been trying to do, and that's put that USA 1 on a trailer in the first round. You, on that run, affected the national point outcome, it looks like.
That's what I've been trying to do for a long time myself. I finally beat him.
What did it feel like to you, and how did you drive this track tonight?
Feels real good. We're taking it a little bit easier off the line because it's really slippery tonight, and trying to pedal it in the middle a little bit and then just going all out at the end.
John Kwasniewski wins in the Buffalo Tremor. Let's watch the DQ Army on Steve Wilkie.
Well, what I was interested in was the starting line. Wilkie came out, ramped the throttle, immediately spun the tires. I think that put him a little bit out of shape. You get a little bit out of shape, it's like oscillation. It gets worse the further down the track, and that's exactly what happened. It caught him. The mistake was made on the starting line. The problem developed on the finish line into the track.
And there was no doubt. It was clear that he did not get both wheels on that first obstacle. All right, our next first round matchup, Bennett Clark's Clydesdale, Powder Springs, Georgia, against Arnold, Missouri's Starvin Marvin Smith and the Stomper Chevrolet.
You know, Scott Bennett's been around this game for quite a few years. He's got the long truck. He's had good tracks and bad tracks, and believe it or not, he's one of the few drivers that think this track is going to be his kind of track. Slippery track, he says the horsepower there with the long truck should be able to help him. Meanwhile, the Missouri native Stomper truck of Marvin Smith, he's not worried about the track either. It should be a pretty close run.
Stomper closest to you. Clydesdale and Bennett Clark furthest away. They're ready to go. Oh, looks like Stomper could not get on the block spinning.
Looks like a rear-wheel drive only on the Stomper. Bennett Clark goes out. He backpedals at half track, makes a good smooth run. Clark going to that next round.
The start kills Stomper and Clydesdale, and Bennett Clark gets the victory. Clydesdale may get a shot in the next round at the equalizer. Here he is with Army Armstrong.
Bennett, there's a real strong possibility you're going to be going up against that point leader equalizer in the next round. Do you really want to bump this guy off?
Yeah, I'd like to bump him off. He's got a good lead on us on the points right now. We'll just have to run as hard a race as we can. The racetrack's real slick right now, so I think it'll be hard for him to control that much horsepower right now.
Bennett Clark flat sounds confident. He's not afraid of anybody in monster truck racing. But I'll tell you, when you talk about people to be afraid of this year, this has been the man who has put more of them on the trailer than anybody else. Your world points leader, the equalizer, in David Morris.
David Morris, in the opening of the show, made a statement we're going to be watching. The statement was, I don't believe it's a horsepower track. It's going to be a driver's track. Now, we're going to find out just how good a driver this young man is, as he's going up against the Thunder Chicken. Remember, he's a rookie driver. Thunder Chicken running him tough over the first set of cars, Scott.
Kid Raring and the Thunder Chicken give an equalizer all he wants, but give the win to David Morris. The equalizer puts Thunder Chicken on the trailer. If equalizer can beat Clydesdale in the next round, he may end up against Carolina Crusher in the semifinals.
You and the Carolina Crusher in the same part of the bracket. Somebody's going to either jump out or pull in on these points leads tonight. Who's it going to be?
It needs to be me. I'd like to take these points this year. I'm going to run hard. I'll have to run hard to beat him with his new motor.
Okay, we noticed you had a little bit of problem on that run in the shutdown area. Anything major?
Yeah, I lost the steering. I threw a power steering belt off, and if I can get that repaired, I'll be back.
You know Gary Forner said he's going to come and hammer you hard tonight. He wants you bad.
Well, he'll get me tonight.
A full moon in Virginia, and that can mean only one thing. It's the Grave Digger. Appropriately, he's meeting Nightlife here in Fishersville. The number 4 and 5 trucks in the World Championship points race. Ready to go with the Digger. They love him everywhere, but nowhere more than in his home state of Virginia. And here's Nightlife, a guy all the way from Nebraska who'd love to kind of just throw it in the face of the Virginia fans and knock off the Digger.
Well, Scott, Wysorek has done that so many times this year. I believe Dave Wysorek, one of the strongest drivers on the circuit, definitely one of the most consistent. But Anderson's in front of his own home state people. I look for a kamikaze shot out of the left lane. Grave Digger rolls on the throttle. Wysorek playing him tough. It looks dead even. Wysorek may be out. Anderson's got to come back. No! An upset. What an upset, Scott.
And it did not sound good. Something sounded funny with the Grave Digger. Just the curse continuing for Dennis Anderson and the Grave Digger.
Dennis Anderson, do you have any idea what happened on that run?
Yeah, I think I dropped a valve in the motor. During qualifying, I hit the shifter with my elbow, knocked it into neutral. The motor buzzed up super high, and I think we sucked a valve through it when I just ran then.
5 weeks to go. This has got to hurt. This is not the time to break anything, is it?
No, it's not. I've had some tough weeks here lately anyway, but we're going to tear it down tonight and thrash on it all night. Maybe we'll be back tomorrow.
Maybe the hardest working man in the sport. Let's listen to the run and listen for the engine problem.
Scott, if it's a drop valve, you should get a pop out of the engine.
Well, there you hear it right there, and that'll stick a fork in Gravedigger. He's done for the night. When we return, it's Mad Dog and other superstars of monster truck racing in the mud.
You know? Welcome back. I'm Chris Chapman. The mud and the full moon didn't help Gravedigger in the first round as he lost the race and valuable points to Nightlife. Here are the point standings coming into this week of racing. Equalizer has a 30-point advantage over the Carolina Crusher. USA 1 is third, but will gain very few points here after losing early. And with a big win, Nightlife pulls closer to the Gravedigger. Mad Dog and No Problem, which may meet in the quarterfinals, are 6th and 7th. The retired Awesome Kong is 8th with Wild Hair and Clydesdale rounding out the top 10. Now, let's go to Scott and Army for more side-by-side racing.
Thanks a bunch, Chris, and I'm really looking forward to this matchup, Army Armstrong. It's the Jersey Outlaw Ford and Mike Wine going up against King Crunch and Scott Stevens.
Well, Mike Wine definitely turning into a crowd favorite for the Ford fans all over America, but who does he go up against? The long, tall Texan. They call him King Crunch. The King Crunch truck runs a computer. We asked him earlier what the computer was saying. He said, back all the horsepower away from it. The mud's going to hurt you tonight. So Stevens rolls in. The blue truck, Chevrolet, going against Ford. Computer said easy on the horsepower. Let's see if it works.
Coming to the second set of cars side by side as they hit that finish line. Too close to call. Wow, what a race between the Jersey Outlaw Ford and King Crunch with Scott Stevens. Here we are again. You look at the timing camera. Scott Stevens and King Crunch pulling it out, but just barely. What a race, and it was that close when they hit the finish line. Scott Stevens, King Crunch, your winner. Army Armstrong's going to go over and talk to him about a dandy race and a win over the Jersey Outlaw.
Scott, everybody said it's going to be a driver's track. That's exactly what it is. You've got to think on this track, don't you?
Yeah, we've turned our motor way down. We fattened everything up, trying to kill horsepower. We just have too much to come off the line, so you just got to drive off the line. And, you know, because in qualifying, we had too much power, and I like to spun around. You know, just got to take it easy on the track because there's no traction.
Some of the big guns are going out early. That looks good for you.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely a weekend where I wish we didn't have a lot of horsepower. You know, Carolina's doing real good with his big motor, but, you know, no problem with a small motor is really doing good. And it's going to be a weekend where the driver's going to win this weekend.
Could make for some interesting things happening, and there's something that's real interesting. The Breen boys, a little family showdown here in Virginia. That's John Breen and Mad Dog. His opponent, Bob Breen and Wild Hair.
Breen Boys Racing Toys, the name of their company. They travel the national circuit with us, but believe me, there's no love lost here. Nothing else. They're going for bragging rights. Both of them believe in the Chevrolet for horsepower. Who's going to take the win?
Wild Hair and Bob Breen puts away his brother, who's having some problems with John Breen barely getting across the cars in Mad Dog. Your winner in the Battle of the Breen Boys Racing Toys is Bob Breen and Wild Hair.
Bob, what's it going to take to win on this track tonight? This is spooky out there.
Yeah, it is. It's a real slick track, and I think tonight, I don't think the big motors, I don't think that's what's going to take, because I got one of the smallest motors here, and I'm coming out of the hole. I'm not spinning my tires very much, and I don't have enough horsepower to really make it spin sideways. I got a real good chance, I think, to really kick down tonight.
You know, Army, one of the things I think people really enjoy about following the TNT Monster Truck Challenge is that each week it's a new course, there are new circumstances, and hasn't Fishersville, Virginia really dealt us a brand new set?
Well, because of the moisture in the track, it definitely has, and that's what's so interesting about the competitors we have. Anybody can win. There's nobody dominating this sport. Anybody can be a player. For an example, John Moore, who historically has not run that good on some tracks, look at him here. Whoa, he's attacking the Fishersville plate. Oh, he's into the wall down here.
Wow, John Moore, no problem, into the guardrail, and you can see that left front tire is cut down. Army, I think we're going to get a chance to look at it again on replay and see just exactly what happened to John Moore. He gets the win over Gary Wiggins and Mopar Magic, but boy, what a tough day at the office.
Yeah, tough day at the office. Right now, he's trying to get back to the pit area and get the tire blown up. Watch the left front tire on impact when he comes off the second jump. I believe he rolled it on the side. Yeah, the tire blew first, and that's what pulled him into the wall, not the slippery track.
Well put, Army, and you can see he's got work to be done, but John Moore will be back. Let's find out from John Moore exactly what happened.
I don't know. I guess I got over here in some slick stuff, and I've been trying to get over this way a little bit because first round put me way up on my side, and I don't know what's I don't know. The track's a little slick out here in the end. I'm gonna see if we can get her fixed and get back in it.
That takes care of the first round of racing on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. When we return, the mighty modifieds pull the heavy sleds and
Back
boulders.
in Fishersville, Virginia for the quarterfinal round of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Let's find out about the exciting matchup from Chris Chapman. Chris?
USA 1 and Gravedigger trying to make a comeback tonight in the national points race against the Equalizer and Carolina Crusher, but it's not going to happen. USA 1 driver Rod Litzow, he was out tonight because of an injury, and his replacement driver Steve Wilkie, he was DQ'd in first round competition. And then it's the Gravedigger, back to the usual breakage. Dennis Anderson and the Digger cursed tonight by the full moon of his home state here in Virginia. Let's go now to the quarterfinal pairing.
The big new engine of Carolina Crusher will be coming out against Buffalo Tremor. The Tremor with the upset over USA 1. That'll be our first quarterfinal matchup. Then we're going to get a look at the Clydesdale and Bennett Clark, who put Stomper on the trailer. And Clydesdale goes up against your World Championship points leader, David Morris, and the Equalizer from Springfield, Tennessee. After that, Scott Stevens brings out the King Crunch Chevrolet to go up against Dave Wysork in the Nightlife, the guy who broke the hearts of a lot of Virginia fans when he beat Gravedigger. Then an interesting note as we round out the quarterfinals, the Mad Dog will come back. Wild Hair won that match, but Bob Green's truck broke, so Bob will drive Mad Dog against John Moore, and no problem. There's the Buffalo Tremor getting ready to do battle with the Carolina Crusher. Earlier we asked Gary Porter about the new, bigger engine that he currently has in that truck. Carolina Crusher, second in the national points.
Well, I went to a bigger motor. It's 1,200 horsepower. It's about 400 horsepower more than what I was running. It has an 871 and injection on it, and the throttle response is just, I can't really get used to it, you know, controlling the injection on it.
We're about to find out if he can control it now. Carolina Crusher against Buffalo Tremor.
Both trucks making buku horsepower. It's going to be a driver track. Let's see what's going to happen. Half track is an even race. Crusher, he figured that throttle out.
Boy, he barely pulled it off. John Kwasniewski is coming, friends. Make no mistake about it. But you can give the victory to Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. Army, here it comes right at you.
Well, he drove a good, smooth race. Trying to figure it out. The throttle at the very end of the track, he's finally getting a handle on it. Boy, that's got to be spooky having that much horsepower on a greasy track.
This is the man he really wants. You may see him later. David Morris, the Equalizer, the leader for the World Championship in points. But Bennett Clark, Clydesdale, very confident. You talked with him earlier, Army. He thinks these are his kind of conditions.
He definitely believes that. The long wheelbase, he says, to his advantage. He is looking forward to getting hold of the Equalizer. And I guarantee you, the biggest fan right now for Clydesdale is going to be Gary Porter. This kid can really help the Carolina Crusher if he puts away the Equalizer in this run. However, on the other side of the track, the kid out of the volunteer state just believes in himself, drives his own race. Let's see what's going to happen.
Coming out of the gate, Equalizer, normally smooth, he's smooth again, and he wins it impressively. David Morris and the Equalizer, well, that's a perfect example. You see problems for the Clydesdale, but that race is a perfect example of why David Morris is your leader for the World Championship in points. Consistent, solid, strong, smooth. He's got it all, and he got a win over Clydesdale.
Well, it looks like we got a dream race coming up next. You said earlier you kind of want to get a hold of Porter. He's going to be sitting right next to you in that next round.
Yeah, he's going to be tough. The track's getting slicker as the night goes on, so it's going to be a good race. I'm going to run hard as I can.
David Morris will be coming back. Scott Stevens, King Crunch out of Woodlands, Texas. And when we saw him a little earlier, he really got quite a run from the Jersey Outlaw. Put him away. Now he goes up against Nightlife. Dave Wysork out of Grand Island, Nebraska.
Wysork, the strong privateer, we told you about it. He put some of the big guns away over the year. He's looking good against King Crunch. Stevens going to come back on the other end. I don't believe he's going to do it. No, Wysork, the independent, goes into that next round. Look at all the problems we're having shutting these trucks down, Scott.
Big win for Dave Wysork as Nightlife gains points on Gravedigger and USA 1 today.
Well, Fishersville, Virginia is going to be a good night if for nothing else for points. The two guys right in front of you, 3 and 4, they're out of this thing, and you're closing the door on them as far as each round that goes by. You're pulling them in closer.
That they are. I can use the points right now. I'm 5th in the points, and if I can catch up, I believe the person in front of me is Digger, and I put him out earlier. So I gain points on him, and hopefully I can make 3rd this year.
All right, this is going to be an interesting matchup. Now, Mad Dog is out there. Remember, he lost to Wild Hair, his brother Bob, but that truck broke. Mad Dog gets to come back. The points go to Mad Dog, but it's a new driver. Bob Breen's going to drive it, and John Moore and the other drivers don't like it, Army, even though it's above board.
Well, the driver switch is completely legal. Like you say, the other drivers, they do not like it at all because it's the only rule that only affects the Breen boys. Now, Bob Breen, the problem is he's more of an aggressive driver. That's why the other drivers don't like it. John Breen's a finesse driver. Bob Breen's an attack driver. Look at this. He's definitely attacking that Ford to go into the next round. Chevrolet. Mad Dog puts a Ford on a trailer.
Boy, that was a great example of an attack as he attacks John Moore, and Bob Breen gets the win.
This is kind of a unique situation down here. The reason being, part of the Breen Boys racing team, Bob Breen, won in the first round, but his truck was not able to come back. However, he comes back in his brother's truck, Mad Dog. What's going on up there?
Well, my brother knows his truck's got a lot more horsepower than mine. I threw all the belts off of mine and broke one of them so I couldn't come back, and my truck was hot. And he knows I ain't afraid to drive it if it's got a motor in it, so he stuck me in there to see what I could do with it.
How'd it feel to you?
I like the power.
Can you use that kind of power on this track tonight? You're going into the next round. You've waited this far.
You got to feather it out of the hole, but once you get on the cars, that's the time to hammer it. And then after that, once you get your momentum up, then they'll usually stick. You can do pretty good.
We'll see you in that next round. You're looking good.
Thank you.
You can tell Bob's excited, but as Army pointed out, John Moore very upset about the way the driver switch worked out. We tried to talk to John Moore, but he just drove off the track. Maybe we can catch up to him on this subject in future weeks here on Tuff Trax. When we come back, though, from this next break, we're going back to Bowling Green, Ohio for the pull-off. We asked David Banner, what points leader equalizer against the pursuer. Second place, Carolina Crusher. A huge race for the world points title. We're back for the semifinal round of racing on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge in Fishersville, Virginia. Down to 4, Chris Chapman matches them up.
This semifinal round may very well decide the national points champion. It's going to be number 1, David Morris in the equalizer, against Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher, who's in the number 2 position. That winner is going to go on and face either Nightlife or Mad Dog. We'll see.
Last week, the Monster Smash Finals here on Tuff Trax in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, had the equalizer and Carolina Crusher going head-to-head. And you know, for the most part, over the last month or two, equalizers had the better of it, Army.
That's the reason they stepped up on the horsepower of the Carolina Crusher on this run. Equalizer lost his steering, but held on for the win. Look at that, the last half of the race, no steering at all. That kid has got what it takes to be a monster truck champion.
Well, right now, he hopes to do it again, but this is not the final this time, so the winner here really is going to pick up a big advantage. He's not only going to get this victory, then he'll have a chance to go on and try and win the Monster Smash Final in just a few moments. Now, it's obvious as we come in that Carolina Crusher doesn't look real good. He's kind of puffing.
A little blue smoke coming out of the engine. That could just be from the jetting. Heat coming out of the back of the truck indicates he had a heating problem on the vehicle. Equalize. He goes through, but something fell off the bottom of that truck. He's trying to shut it down on the big end. Whoa, all safe in Fishersville for now.
That was just wild. There's blue smoke coming from Crusher. Then, as you mentioned, Army, something fell off the equalizer, and now he's smoking. Couldn't stop. Carolina Crusher's got it in reverse, backing to get to the pit area.
That's an indication he's got some kind of drivetrain problem. He's not able to go forward. He's got to back out. Well, that's a tough break for that kid, but it's a good break for that kid right there.
But he's calling for a hook, too. Equalizer, obviously, with a problem, as he will need some help to get off the track. Let's find out from David Morris just what the problem is.
7.79 seconds.
Well, David Morris, realistically, that run right there could have won you the national championship.
Yeah, I needed that win bad, and I was ready to do anything to get it. Got a little squirrely down here. Had to get a whole lot of RPM on the engine that time, and I slung another power steering belt also.
Is that where the smoke's coming from?
No, I set it the line so long that my motor got hot on me, so I'm going to let it cool down and everything be ready to go.
The Mad Dog with its new driver, if you will, Bob Breen, driving, substituting for brother John Breen, because between the two of them, they like the way he attacks this course with all that power. He's going up against Dave Wysork in Nightlife. Now, Army, these two met a couple of weeks ago in Milwaukee. These two trucks with John driving. Here's how it went.
Well, this will give you some idea of the driving style. Keep an eye on Wysork on the far side. He's a strong finisher. This kid is, I just can't get over how good he is He won one big event this year in Houston. Right now, he's trying to work his way back into the winning mode in Fishersville.
Dave Wysork got that win over John Breen and Mad Dog. Let's see how he does with Bob Breen
Look
and
at
Mad
this.
Dog.
The kid is so smooth, you can never count him out. He's going to the final.
Dave Wysork and Nightlife will meet Equalizer in the championship. That brings up the question, how bad does Dave Wysork want Equalizer in the Monster Smash?
Real bad. I'd like to beat him. He's a tough truck to beat, and it's #1. I'd like to beat the #1 truck.
So much has gone into the design of Solar Flex.
5 minutes to get to the starting line. Right now, the line crew, Al Goss, is telling Porter he may not be out of this thing. He's going to have to get back to his truck and go on a standby status. That's the word he gets right now.
Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher may not be done, but either way, we asked him after he lost to the Equalizer in the semifinals if putting a bigger engine in this late in the season was a mistake.
Well, Gary Porter, you made the big change in order to pull in that championship going into the engine. You went big horsepower. Assess it for me now. It didn't look like it was the way to go.
Well, I think it will be. We had the last 2 weeks off. We put a new motor in. It's 1,200 horsepower. It's about 400 more than what I had. And I was expecting to break, something to find a weak link in the truck. And I know what it is now. I'll go home and straighten it out.
What is the weak link?
I think it was the intermediate shaft and the transmission. I lost all forward gears, and I still had reverse.
Does the truck feel good to you?
It feels real good. It's entirely different driving it. That injection is so responsive. I'm having to sort of get used to driving it again, but I really like the motor.
At Fishersville, the clock is still ticking. Can Equalizer make it to the finals? Yes, indeed. The engine is fired, and Equalizer will make it to race against Nightlife. It is the Monster Smash, the Equalizer, the Nightlife. The finals coming up from Fishersville, Virginia, here on Tuff Trax. Equalizer and Nightlife pull to the starting line for the Monster Smash final. It's showtime!
Two young guns going head-to-head. They go over the first jump side by side. Equalizer starts to pull out a little bit. I believe the Equalizer, Scott.
Very close, though, Army. Equalizer gets the win, and it looks like less than a wheel's length. We're going to go to the timing tape and see if we can see just how close in a still frame that race really was. At the finish line, David Morrison, the Equalizer. Boy, that's a great seat for it. You can see by just the length of a wheel, David Morrison, the Equalizer, may very well have locked up the World Championship. Army Armstrongs with your winner, David Morris, the Equalizer.
Well, David Morris with the Equalizer. You're stretching that national point lead out at an 8-second run in the final. Looked awfully good.
Well, it didn't feel as good as some of my earlier runs. I had trouble getting to the line at time. I had a cylinder that was foul, the plug was foul, and I got a little squirrely, got a little sliding in the middle of the cars, but I just did get back on it hard enough to pull a win out.
How about this kid with the Nightlife truck? You can't roll over on him. He's going to come after you every time, isn't he?
That's right. He'll be there.
What about the points chase? We've been talking about it. You've been chasing all year long. It's been up and down. We're down to the final events of the year. This is it. Your rookie year, you are the national points leader. What's going through your mind right now? Can you bump these big guys off, these veterans?
Yeah, I can. It's going to be all on whether I can keep the truck going. We can keep it all together working fine, and I can keep doing a good job of driving. If I can do that and the truck runs great, we'll take it.
Thanks, Army. Here are the new point standings, and Equalizer has lengthened his lead from 30 to 36 points over Carolina Crusher. USA 1 gained only 5 points tonight, and Gravedigger only 3. Nightlife moved closer to Gravedigger by earning 19 points. The distance between Mad Dog and No Problem was 21 points, and still is 21. Wild Hare and Clydesdale now are tied for 9th. Scott Douglas, what's in store for Tuff Trax fans next week?
Well, Chris, the Gravedigger will be back. Can he bounce back and get a victory? We'll find out. USA 1 beaten today by Buffalo Tremor. Vengeance on the mind of Steve Wilkie and the USA 1 team. They'll match up with Buffalo Tremor and John Kwasniewski again next week. And hey, we'll also get to see the Thunder Chicken and the Buffalo Tremor in a barnyard brawl.
Tell you what, Johnny K out of New York is starting to make a name for himself. These people know that he's in the sport. Could he put his first win under his belt? Will it be Fishersville? Next week's going to tell a story.
Also next week, Army on the TNT All-American Pulling Series. We're back in Bowling Green, Ohio. The beautiful two-wheel drive class. Ken Lamont's Plano Toolbox's Midnight Express, trying to chase down Ray Carpenter and the Sundance Kid for the National Points Championship. You'll see them both in action, along with the best in the world from Bowling Green next week here on Tuff Trax. What a show that's going to be, and what a show this has been. With the victory going to David Morris, the equalizer gets the win in Fishersville, Virginia, knocking off Nightlife in the Monster Smash Finals, and that means the silver flag, significant of this week's Tuff Trax winner, stays on the back bumper of the equalizer. For Army Armstrong and Chris Chapman, I'm Scott Douglas. That'll do it for this week. See you next week on Tuff Trax.